Hey everybody, welcome to BrickVault. Today is another LEGO Top 10 MOCs of the Week episode where I show you guys the coolest custom creations I happen to see people building in LEGO throughout this last week. MOC being an acronym for my own creation. I'm going to be showing you guys a whole heck of a lot more than just 10 builds. All the links to everything I show you are in the description below and more than what I can actually fit. And before we jump into the first builds of the week, I do want to do a monthly recap of what came out in the web store for us at BrickVault.toys. Zeo Creations did a dog bundle. There are 11 different breeds. You can get the whole bundle or just get the dogs individually. Right now, the Corgis are the most popular, followed by Pugs. Then the Shiba Inus and Dachshunds are tied in third. David Buckles did an extremely impressive AT-AP Walker in minifig scale. Barely seen in the movies and hardly at all, I think, in the shows. It's still an amazing design from the Star Wars universe. David did an excellent job knocking it out. And to Impaired just recently, a few days ago, came out with the CR-90 Corvettes, the Tantive 4, and colored in blue, the Liberator from Star Wars Rebels. They're built to scale with the pre-existing micro fleet. His attention to detail is absolutely excellent. I highly recommend you check out the videos or the web story, all linked in the description below. And now let's jump into some honorable mentions for top builds of the week. Ben Smith built an excellent display for an infantry fighting hover vehicle. Awesome little design to get the ramp to hold up the body of the vehicle there. Tino built this here, the Serpent's Strait, and there really is a lot happening in the story here from such a small micro build. Lego Nuts is at it again with some amazing digital photography. Joxon included some wonderful details here in this deceptively simple looking build called Moon Knight Roto. Andreas Lenander made something kind of intriguing called Balance. And here's an excellent use of color by Nick Sweetman, Jose, and his amazing Technicolor alpacas. You don't usually see jet fighters in such a large build configuration. This one here done by Nicholas Kramer, and by the builder Why Not, we have an untitled build to which I say, why? And here's a snapshot from Ben Cossey called Tales in Omos, Chapter 17, Jolly Sailor Bold. Kind of reminds me of the Sirens. I recommended Aaron Newman's micro builds last week. I'm just still recommending his micro builds this week. And from David Roberts, this is the Tower of Secrets. If you go to his page, you can see this folding open if you want. Blake Foster calls this the ATCST, standing for the All-Terrain Classic Space Tank. Daisy Brick has the Lambretta motor bike with Lego, and Max Howell has built the Tresk, I think. It's spelled in Leet. Awesome figure details though. And this is a wonderful little juxtaposition. We have a nice serene pasturesque look at a mountainside with what looks like a military train passing by, General Tensai. Ordo, or Fabian B, built the Banana Bug. Great use of the inflatable life rafts on either side there. And this is General Tilney's X-17 Ptarmigan. I love the Wizard's Wintry Attack by Valeris Maximus. And Vincent Lego's creation is titled What's Your Wish? Excellent Dragon Ball Z build here. Apparently this is a display in Amsterdam. Didn't know it existed, looks really cool. And Dubac Bricks has this build from Order 66 on Rugosa. The animation from the ATRT especially looks good right here. And from Moko, this is the MFS-018 Blood Cancer. Here's a Dwarven Barbershop by Aurora. And you might be able to recognize this from the popular internet meme Boromir in the Council of Elrond by Big Stannis. And Buttloaf built something called the Gluttonous, easily the most disturbing build of the week. Good job. Now for my personal favorite top 10, these are Hardsuits of the CityState Aptenodytes by Frost. We've shown Hardsuits before on the top 10. This latest iteration has a fun level of creativity and intrigue. Basically, these are small, somewhat chubby robotic suits that have clearly multiple purposes. Each of these robotic suits has their own name and function, and I love the little diorama set pieces that go around them. It's pretty self-explanatory in terms of what each of them is designed to do. There's a combination of nice techniques, humor, and color composition. Dan Harris's latest build, Battle of Falkirk, has some amazing perspective shots here. Captures a lot of intensity, a lot of fear and anguish from these soldiers with the pikes, or spears, I think. And it's pretty rare that you can capture so much energy and motion with basically just careful minifigure placement and the correct pieces used for facial expressions and things like that. And if any of you are still licking your wounds based on the cancellation of the V22 Osprey set, Simon Liu did the V43 Osprey. Clearly a sci-fi based build, but you can see the similarities, of course. Love the design for the cockpit. There's a lot of wonderfully matching up slope pieces and angular tiles. And normally olive green doesn't pop out to me as a colorful piece to use as a primary, but when combined with orange, this whole vehicle really pops quite bright, which I like a lot. In this other photo, there's even extra points for there being a fold open function to the cockpit in the front there. And now we are moving on to Eldorado Fortress by Jorstad Designs. It looks like a really complimentary set for the latest Pirates of Barracuda Bay set. You can even see them side by side. And in my opinion, it actually would kind of make sense if LEGO built sort of a counterpart to help match the rather large, amazing throwback pirate set that recently came out. The colors here are wonderful. The design feels very accessible. It actually does kind of feel like a LEGO set. Who knows, we might get something similar like this built from an actual LEGO set as an update, but who knows. Let's move on to a somewhat thematically related build, sort of at least. This is called Orion Blade of the High Seas by Raye. The inclusion of the Dutch angle here for a lot of these shots actually does, I think, a lot to capture some dramatic looking stances, and no one can deny that the building techniques actually work really well for a creature like this. It's a humanoid hammerhead with an awesome, somewhat cartoony pirate hat, and who knows, maybe integrating larger sea battle creatures like this, or bosses or something, to a new theme of pirate sets could be an interesting element to rebooting the classic theme, because I have a feeling LEGO might not actually ever reboot the classic pirate theme, so you gotta add in cool, weird creatures like this. We are jumping on to the next build by aukbricks. This is called Windmill Island. Suffers from a lack of pictures. This is the only one we actually got of it, but the details and techniques are undeniably awesome. I always want to get inside some of the wall design techniques and see how all of those shapes came together. The cylinder looks incredibly good for the tower of the windmill. The thatched roof is surprisingly simple. I feel like people are always choosing the weirdest and most different, interesting techniques to get a hay or thatched kind of grass roof or something, but you can see how this one came together pretty quick, and it's surprisingly effective. The small walking bridge looks great between the smaller island, and it's just a nice, calm looking scene all in all. Now there's a small caveat when moving on to this next build. This is called Tree of Life, also by Simon Liu. This happens pretty rarely, but sometimes I choose two builds from the same builder in 1 week. My rule is to just look at all the pictures, isolate the ones that I like the most, and then look at the designer name after I've chosen my 10 favorite. It's not the first time, but it's pretty rare that I'll choose the same guy twice in 1 week. But anyways, we have a lot of interesting design techniques and color choices that make this just a weird and fun design to look at and talk about. The monochrome gray really forces you to focus on the techniques themselves, which are quite strange. We have a lot of clips on what look like flexi tubes, and the underside is specifically shown. These are the details the builder wants you to see. The same thing goes for those rounded plates on the top. Man, I'm wondering where all those gray pieces are on Bricklink. I guess I found out, and it looks like the Tree of Life is producing some sort of fruit. Also, you can't forget to mention the red glowing light that's coming from the center or the bottom of the underside of the tree, and the traveler or the single person who's highlighted by white staring inside. There's just a lot of things happening here. It's odd, it's serene, it's a little bit ominous with the red light, and just completely different. This is just a build I was not expecting to see this week or any time ever, possibly. Now, hands down, I am the most impressed by this build this week, no doubt. By Rocco Buttliere, we have the Forbidden City, and I think this is the old Forbidden City of Beijing. It was a commissioned build, took quite a long time to put together. There's tons of pieces included. You can check out the description on his Flickr if you want to learn more about the specifics of this one, but needless to say, it is both impressive in its scale and extremely impressive in its detail. This is one of those models when you're looking up close at all the different areas. I was always waiting to find a spot of this model where maybe he thought no one would be looking too close and he could cut a little bit of corners and have something look a little bit basic or simplified, but that is not the case. Every single little corner, every nook and cranny of this massive micro build has some kind of unique individual flair. I've no doubt that he probably built this to an extreme level of accuracy. You should check out some of his other models if you doubt me. But there are just so many wonderful places and ideas used to create the roofs or to create the little courtyards or the pathways or the waterways. It just kind of goes on forever, and it's hard to really talk about a specific point on this model that impresses me more than another point. These types of builds on this scale and at this detail are rare. They don't really come around too often. Part of the reason is that you need a massive amount of resources, lots of time, and there's only so many builders out here with the amount of patience and skill that could really pull off something like this. If I've ever used the term attention to detail, this is the singular epitome of that term realized in physical form. There is just so much attention given to so many tiny little corners of such a large build that it kind of makes my head spin. Anyways, congrats on just such an awesome design, Rocco. And now let's jump around to a reimagining of an M-Tron build called Heavy VTOL by Blake Foster. It's not really based on an old M-Tron set, but just using the classic and inspired by a color scheme of red, black, some light bluish gray, and of course the neon yellow or the neon green. And there's just some interesting building techniques used for this spaceship type design. The dome-like control pod at the bottom that seems somewhat disconnected from the body is an interesting approach. The red shell that wraps around a lot of the gray, more mechanical looking details is an interesting idea design. And the pivoting thrusters on the circular body in the back just make this whole thing feel a little bit insect-like, but also smooth, modular, modern. I don't know, there's just a lot of fun, interesting design techniques that ultimately just make this feel like a different looking sci-fi vehicle, even though it is color-wise harkening back to an older time, a different generation of LEGO sci-fi builds. And we're jumping on to the last but not least build of the week. This is called The Old Guide by VB. The creature here, the Old Guide, very much reminds me of something you might see in Princess Mononoke. This wolf-like creature has a humanoid-like face, but does kind of have a little bit of a dramatic mask sort of feature there in the front. Stylistically, the use of the mostly Technic pieces I think really works as an art style for this creature. There's a lot of animation, the wily hair sticking off the back, especially by the tail, just feels like the right design choice, almost like the hair kind of gets finer and finer as you move further and further back along the black body. The villager or traveler on the back of this creature looks completely different, almost robotic or stone-like. The face also has a mask-like feeling behind it, and there's just an interesting mood established with these two characters when they are together. Lots of energy, great building techniques, and that is it for the top 10 MOCs of the week. Remember to check out the links in the description below. If you liked any of the stuff I showed you, I'm sure you're going to like a lot of the other links that are there. Remember to check out the web store if you have not yet already. If you enjoy our content, you can always like or subscribe, share the video, do whatever you want to do. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time at BrickVault.